Hello and welcome to the Humanity of Sales, where purpose meets profit. How often do you stop and ask yourself, am I spending time with the right people? I know that may sound a little bit weird, but who we spend time with can really make a big difference in our day-to-day joy and our ability to achieve our goals. And today we're going to talk a little bit about that on the humanity of sales with an incredible guest who happens to be a chair of Vistage. Vistage is a group that of CEOs. It's a peer group, and I happen to be a Vistage speaker, so we have something in common. You're going to enjoy it. But before we dive into introducing you to Bob Moquin, I want to just have you take a second and ask again. Are you spending time with people who lift you up, who hold you accountable, who've been further down the path than you and can help you along the way, that make you laugh, that tell you you can do it and encourage you to take action? Or are you spending time with people who bring you down, who are really negative, who always focus on what's wrong without attempting to come up with a solution? Do you know anyone like that? I encourage you to take the time to stop and realize that you get to choose. Now, before I go any further with that, it's time to bring on our guest expert. Bob Moquin is principal of Solution Business Partners and serves as a Vistage chair in Charleston, South Carolina. He specializes in leadership, strategy, and business management for private and public industry sectors. Bob has held senior level management positions for various global companies, strategic communication firms, marketing agencies, and chambers of commerce. He is a fascinating individual with a wealth of information on leadership who just happens to live the humanity of leadership. And I want to bring him on to the humanity of sales to talk about why purpose does meet profit. Here he is. Bob, welcome. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic, and it's great to be with you and your listeners today.
Oh, I'm thrilled to have you. And they're hearing in your bio all of the different roles that you've had and played in leadership. Um, what do you think stands out the most about your journey?
Well, it's been one that I can say has been very interesting, challenging at times,
Mhm.
to say the least.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I've seen in a lot of um, most recent leadership surveys of the top 500 companies is that the two largest traits of leadership is accountability and adaptability. So to answer your question, the journey as my career is, I've done a lot of different things.
Mhm.
And again, it's, I guess, my opportunities to be able to adapt.
You really hit on it. I mean, it's always been the case with leaders, is that adaptability has been a huge part of it. But I think now, even more than ever before, we have to, like, nothing stays the same. That's the most consistent thing is change, right? So
Absolutely. And it's happening at rapid pace too.
it really is. We don't do 5-year planning hardly at all anymore. We do what's 90-day planning.
Yeah.
Well, how would you describe your leadership style?
Well, the short answer of my leadership style is actually kind of like a hybrid, to be honest with you. I see it more as a purpose-driven leadership
Yeah.
in a combination of subservient leadership. Um, but before I elaborate on that a little bit, I did want to say again, thank you. I have a great deal of gratitude for you asking me to be on the show, and I think that gratitude goes a long way, and it's probably the best place to start. But I think there's a lot of correlation between your title of your book and your show and the two styles of leadership. And what I mean by that is, I honestly, Heather, I after I saw your title of the book, I'm thinking, I don't think I've ever seen humanity and sales in the same
In the same
sentence.
sentence.
Never, never mind the same breath. And what I mean by that is, obviously by definition, humanity is about the human race, humankind, and human beings, right? I
Yeah,
mean, I don't have to tell you that.
right.
Um, but I also will say sales, and I'm not trying to stereotype here, but sales, for the most part, with most people, has kind of a negative connotation.
It does.
It's one of these things. If you just ask yourself, when's the last time you received a text or an email or a phone call or even an in-person meeting, and it's like someone's trying to sell you something.
It's
Uh,
true.
I mean, and even salespeople that are in sales, they even admit that it's a hard career because it has kind of a negative connotation. And so, and then with everything, it just seems like in our world today, everything is so transactional.
Yes.
And that's where I see the purpose driven leadership and subservient leadership really is the complete opposite of that. Not, and again, not to stereotype, but when people are selling, it's usually about them trying to benefit in some shape or form, right? Um, a purpose-driven leadership and subservient leadership, it's putting others first.
Yes.
The first, when you talk about purpose, it's that why.
Mhm.
And, as I was preparing to chat with you today, I went back and looked up Simon Sinek's book, right? Because a lot of people start with why. And honestly, it's been a fantastic ride for him that it was 15 years ago. Can you believe that? 15 years ago
Amazing.
that he actually it was the first book he came out with regards to that. But the purpose has been around for, since day one in the world, right? What's the
Yeah.
purpose of all of our lives? But the fact of the matter is that if you start with purpose and you have a sense of what you're really is important to you, and then taking that and overlaying that with subservient,
Mhm.
um, to me, that's how I came about. And earlier in my life, I didn't necessarily have my own personal purpose. I kind of knew, but it was very hard to articulate. And I will tell you, with a lot of practice and with a lot of work, um, I actually have come up with my own, and it's do the most good for the most people.
That's it. That's it right there. That's the humanity of sales.
And I really try to live that every day. And I will tell you, for your listeners out there that are trying to define their potential own purpose, I'm sure that they know what it is, but to be able to articulate it, um, I highly recommend you keep it simple and straightforward.
Right.
And so, you know, it's like the elevator pitch. It's like, what do you do, right? You'd be able to do that in 30 seconds. Well, I will tell you, if you can craft your own purpose and be able to articulate it in 10 words or less, people will walk away and say, I know what that person's all about.
Mm.
Uh, So
How many times do you end up going or to a networking event or you're meeting someone or even within a Vistage event and you have people trying to explain what they do and they're going on and how they serve everybody and they're doing this and then they're doing that and that too. You start to shut down, right? You need to be able
exactly.
to, you can't have it as a guiding light if it's unclear. It has to be laser focused. And I wanted to, Bob, I really love what you were talking about because I spent a lot of time in this land of helping salespeople to understand that it is about humanity, right? It's kind of an evolution. A lot of people still have the residue of old time sales as manipulation or competition. And the evolution of sales is selling with humanity, working together with someone towards something bigger than either of you could accomplish on your own, right? And so I love that you started with that, and that when you're talking about purpose, combined with servant leadership, is that you are laser focused on doing the right thing. What'd you say? You said do the most good for the most people, right?
Exactly.
That's so clear. You can ask yourself with every interaction that you have, am I doing this? Am I following my purpose? Am I leading with humanity? Am I selling with humanity? It's so easy and clear, and I love that you started with that.
It's got to be authentic to you as an individual, but it's the filter. It's the, the other terms that we hear a lot, and that is, what are your core values, your
Yeah.
morals, right? That's what it all comes down to. It's sometimes it's harder to practice than, to live from that standpoint. But if you're true to yourself and true to your mission, then it becomes, second nature from that standpoint.
It really does. And I know that my listeners love a good story. And I bet, Bob, with your experience, that you've got some good stories. Do you have any examples of being a servant leader that you could share with us?
Sure. One comes to immediate mind for me, and it's one of these things that maybe I guess my employees were very surprised at, and that is I always told them that I would support their growth and their development, that their well-being was really my most important to me. And I truly try to give them all the resources within their jobs and their careers. But it was really gratifying that I have had several employees come to me and say, "Hey, I'm considering another position in another department with even the same organization, or they are actually looking to leave the company
Mhm.
and go elsewhere." And I said to them, if it's in your best interest and you think it's the best thing to do, then by all means, you should do it. And if I can help you, I'll even give you a recommendation. I mean, and some employees were a little, maybe taken off guard because of that. And
Right.
they almost didn't know if they believed me or not. But ultimately, what it comes back, right, Heather?
Yeah.
Um, I had one of those two different employees, and it happened more than once. But the two scenarios that I recall is one, that the employee that stayed within the company but moved on was continued to be a very high performing employee, team player, and always, and actually, I think excelled because they knew that within the organization, we had their best interest in mind.
Yes.
And ultimately, they were much better productive wise. They were just a more pleasant person. Um, in the other case, the other person that did leave the organization, they would send me candidates for when we had job openings to go, you really need to consider this ABC company because they treat their employees right. And that's what I want to have my reputation aligned to,
Hmm.
is to be able to have people that say, there is a company that you want to be with. And, they may have left, but it was for other reasons or other opportunities. They outgrew the organization and we didn't have a place for them. So I think those are probably the examples that I'm most proud of from that
Good.
standpoint.
Yes, you should be. And I'm a firm believer in what you're talking about. You do the right thing for people, it's going to come back. And it may come back in a different way, like them recommending people in than you would anticipate. That's wonderful. I always love that. Good stories. So, we met through Vistage, and I mentioned to everyone already that's what you do with your CEO group, that being Vistage. For those who are listening and don't know, so I'm a Vistage speaker, you're a Vistage chair, but they might be like, "What's Vistage?" Could you give a little bit of a overarching theme about what Vistage does and why you were drawn to it?
Absolutely. First of all, Vistage has been around for 65 years, 40 countries, and over 45,000 CEOs and leaders. And I say that big is not better or throw numbers around, but one, it's a proven model for leaders. And it's all about, if I could sum it up in a few words, it's about professional and personal growth. So if you will, the pillars that we utilized have been proven out over 65 years. And we do that in a different combinations. And one, it's a peer group, advisory group. So you're getting together as a leader in a confidential manner. We had no competitive, two individuals in the same industry would be in the same room, is to be able to share your challenges, your opportunities, and know it comes. And why it is so powerful that I've seen is that people generally care about each other. They're trying to support each other. I also work on one-on-one coaching, executive coaching, and then we have other resources, you know, research. We have different online tools that are offered to a member. And it's all about challenging each other, frankly,
Yeah.
being honest with each other. So that's the reason why I was drawn to it, and to be able to contribute, but also learn. It's fascinating to get 15 different perspectives around a table because our backgrounds are different, right? And we all see things maybe a little differently when we're attacking a challenge or an opportunity. So it's a great environment. Everybody that is a member, they always say it's something that they get energized about.
Yes.
And to me, that's exciting.
I've seen that as well, and it really fits in with the A's that you were mentioning before. Vistage is a wonderful opportunity for accountability, and they encourage each other to be adaptable, to look at, like you said, look at things from different perspectives, and then take action to make
Very
change
good.
based on the different perspectives. And everyone that I've spoken to who has been a member of Vistage has gotten a lot out of it. And so I could see why you were drawn to it in the chair position with your leadership focus, of course. So, gosh, the time is flying
Well,
by for us, but go ahead.
I have to apologize because I've been very remiss when I was describing. I left out Vistage speakers like yourself. Uh, During those meetings that we have on monthly advisory board meetings, we have subject matter experts come in like yourself to talk about different topics. And we have anything from technology to finance, but it's about some of the things that you and I have already chatted about today, and that is about culture.
Yes.
How do you create the right culture within your company? And then also at the end of the day, leadership because it starts with you as the individual that you have to lead an organization. And so we have great speakers that come in and share some very great tips. And it's always very, very beneficial.
Well, one of the things too is that they don't just sit there and listen. They're trying to figure out how to use every speaker who comes in, right? They're trying to figure out what can I take from this? What one nugget, what one thing can I do or look at differently than I did before, right? And so that's one of the things I really, really do like about Vistage groups and the members. You know, I'd like to tie back to purpose, what you started out with as purpose being a part of your leadership style, and how it ties in or even drives performance or, ultimately that profit prosperity, right? Like I know that we talk about that a lot here, but I'd love your perspective on what that looks like and how that works.
That's a great question. And I will tell you that it all starts to me, it should start with purpose. What really drives you? The old adage I like to use is, if you choose a job that you love, you'll never work a day in your life.
Right.
Now, people have heard that probably many times before, but it truly, truly is, to me, it's the truth because if you love something that you're doing, then it's not really work.
Right.
And then ultimately, um, you know, if you are really living it, um, and it just provides a lot. If you're following your passion, it gives you energy, creativity. And so there's so much that comes out of that. And ultimately, to me, if you're excited about something, then your output, your performance to me is going to probably be above average or higher than if you're just going to work and going through the motions.
Yes.
So what does that lead to? That leads to higher profits I like to use the word prosperity because that means a lot of things to a lot of different people. Yes, it's about driving revenue and what have you, but prosperity can be wealth, as we know, right? But it also can be success. Um, it can be a cause. I've worked with private and public sectors before, and you talk to a nonprofit, it's all about their cause. And if you have that passion and you're fulfilling your purpose, then you're going to see the results naturally.
Yeah.
So, the one that I will tell you that, or my two daughters are going to use as examples because, when they were getting ready to go to college, I said to them, when you start looking at your major, what you want to major in at school, find something that is an interest to you and choose that major. And then once they graduated, it was okay. Now that you've gotten the certificate, now make sure if you're going to be looking for a career, look at something that you want to do, something that you have passion and you have a purpose for. And so I really try to emphasize to that fact to them to be able to hopefully for them to find their niche in life.
What a gift that you've given them, right? I think that we don't spend enough time as parents, as leaders, talking about that. Like, I had that conversation. I actually distinctly remember that conversation with my dad when we were hiking when I was around 11 years old. I can literally, that's how important it was to me and to the decisions that I made after that point. Is I remember the conversation where he was talking about how important it was to do something that you love and that to remember that you can choose to do that.
Well, Your dad must have loved you and was a smart dad because he instilled that in you very early in life, so you could give that a lot of thought as you were probably growing up.
Yeah, just as you have given that gift to your daughters. Now, you gave some good examples. Like when I talk about humanity, I talk about it in mostly three different areas, right? So, the humanity within an organization, how you're treating your people, and you gave us some great examples of that. That's fantastic. And then the other part is how are you treating your customers? How are we going over and above? How are you listening? How are you driving loyalty? There's that one. And then also contributing to the community, right? So, since you already gave us a great internal example with how you led your people, do you have another story or example as it relates to either interacting with the customers in a human servant leadership way or giving back to the community?
Absolutely. I mean, that a lot of what you've said really ties into not only your beliefs but your actions, and that comes through in customer service and doing the right thing, right? So it's sometimes not to break company policy, but when you have a customer that maybe let's just use this as an example that I do recall is that their warranty of their product was expired or and ultimately it was, we could have just said sorry, that we're not going to replace that, but it was within a reasonable amount of time. They had taken care of their product very well, had it serviced when they were supposed to, and and ultimately said, "Fine, we're just going to go ahead and we'll take care of that for you." And again, as you said so nice, eloquently, Heather, is that it comes back because you know that customer went on to tell all the friends and family members of that experience, and it's like they have the best customer service, they take care of their people, their customers, and ultimately, what's the flip side of that? That's the negative, and they're going to probably a negative experience.
Yeah,
Those
yeah,
unhappy customers will probably tell twice as many as the happy customers, right?
that's
So it's again, it's human nature to do the right thing, and then ultimately it comes back in a positive way. It may not be immediate, but the other part about this is it's not necessarily about just the dollars and cents. It's about, like you said, it's doing the right thing.
mhm.
And whether or not that's on a personal level, a human level, or in a corporate environment.
Mm. It's so true. And your story this time reminded me, actually, it reminded me, of course, of a negative situation where I can't stand when I'm calling about an issue with something and somebody responds back, well, it's our policy. And so what you brought up for me just now with that story is it should be part of the policy to empower the people that are talking to the customers to within a reasonable range be able to make the decision to help them, right? Like you have to have parameters, right? But if they just are so stuck with it's our policy that they refuse to hear anything beyond that, drives me batty.
Yes, yes. That's again, you bring up another great point, and that is you empower your people. You get, first of all, train them the way and set those parameters,
Mhm.
but give them some leverage to be able to, make the right call at the time, as opposed to saying, "Oh, well, let me go get my manager, or I'll have to call you back." That usually will take more time, and it's probably not as productive as opposed to empowering them within within certain guidelines to be able to make that decision on the spot if necessary. And then ultimately, it just shows the customer that the company is run in such a way that they want to do business with you again.
That's right. That's right. And it just keeps coming back. Okay, Bob, literally, I could spend all day chatting with you, but I have
Likewise.
two quick questions for you. One is, what are you most excited about now? And two is, what do you most want to leave with our customers, our listeners? Those are our customers, right? So those are the two things. What do you want to leave people with, and what are you most excited about?
Heather, that's a great question. And what I usually will start with each and every leader and CEO that I meet with for the first time, and probably the best advice I can give anyone, and that is it's really two things. One is remember we're human beings. Nobody is perfect. Don't beat yourself up. But as part of that is know yourself. And what I mean by that is we all have strengths and weaknesses. We all have tendencies. For example, we probably shy away from the things that we don't like doing. But to know that and to realize that and how to counteract that. So all of those things tie together. So work on what you can, and then obviously it's about self-development, and there's obviously a lot of different ways that you can grow as an individual and as a leader.
Another big thank you to Bob Moquin of Solution Business Partners and Vistage. And I encourage you to go back to what I asked you in the beginning. Who are you spending your time with? And I want to say thank you for choosing the humanity of sales as a place that you spend your time so that you can learn from incredible folks like Bob. And it gets you thinking about some other things that you can do to lead with humanity, to sell with humanity, to show up with humanity in every interaction. Thank you for joining us right here on the Humanity of Sales, where purpose meets profit.